Welcome to the Come Up Starter Kit, guys. My name is Shanka, and I have a wonderful guest with me today, Laura Madrid, who is an environmental engineer. Now, Laura is actually originally from Colombia, and she's moved over to Australia. I met Laura back at the Professional Migrants group, where I was conducting or helping them with recruitment and or providing them information about if they're trying to get a job here. And Laura was absolutely wonderful there. Laura, thank you so much for jumping on board today.
No, Shankar, thank you so much for inviting me.
Wonderful. Now, Laura, what I wanted to do today was if you could give a 60-second summary of who you are, that would be great.
All right, 60 seconds. Okay, so I'm an environmental engineer. Back home, I come from Colombia. I arrived to Australia 4 years ago. Back home, I used to work as an environmental engineer auditor in a renewable energy company. And also I used to work as an environmental engineer technician in an environmental protection authority. I did a different study like environmental laws as well over there. And that is my summary back there.
Wonderful. And what made you want to move to Australia?
So I will say that it was a lot of dreams. So I'm a person who put her life based on dreams. So I think that back maybe a few years ago when someone asked me this question, I will say, I don't know, I had a kangaroo in my wall and I always knew that I want to be there. It was a dream since I'm like 9 years. And I think that I've been thinking over and over again about why. And I think that I am a person who follows a lot the people that I love. So my favorite cousin is an environmental engineer, but he was the first generation in the country. So for me, it was like how risky it is to decide to study a career that is not famous, not being, a lawyer or a dentist or something that everyone knew before. So I was really inspired by him, and he moved to Australia back then. So when I was like 9, 8 years, he was living already here. And I think that impacted me a lot. And I think that it started to build that emotion. And secondly, because my grandfather was an engineer as well, in years ago. And he was a petroleum engineer. And he always said to me, the biggest and the most important thing is not how difficult it is why you want to do it. And I say, all right, I really want to change the world. I really want to put my side and go to Australia and apply what I know from here to there.
Perfect. Yeah. Now, to give people a bit of a premise about this video, this is really to help people that maybe from Colombia that want to come to Australia and understand what that process is like, what working in Australia is like, but we'll go into plenty more questions, yeah?
Really important.
Okay. So I guess what was the process like? I guess you had an idea or you had a dream and you wanted to come from Colombia to Australia. What was that initial process like?
So I think that it was really challenging in the way that when you start a new process, and you are like, I'm going to develop a dream. It is like, okay, what do I have to do that I'm already a professional here? I already have my career. I have my network built. So what do I have to do to move there and start from zero? And you're like, okay, and you go to different agencies to find the best one, how much. And the first question that you have is how much it costs. In the start, you're like, I really want to be a professional, but seeing the prices that cost you to come as a professional is much higher than when you come to study. Right. So you're like, okay, I can study and make and do or improve my English, because that is you are never 100% in your second language, but you think that is not going to be never enough to feel comfortable to be a professional. So the first excuse is like, study is better. So I will say that one of the first recommendations that I will give to people is that they have to build their confidence about their English before they came here. Okay. So that is the first one. It's not about money and all those kind of things. You can find all those kind of things. It's about yourself. And it's like, if you already are a professional there and you have all those 5, 6, 7 years or even 1 year of experience, you know what is to work in different environments and to apply your knowledge to the industry. The difference is translating all of that to a new country with different laws. So it's a huge change. But the first one is, if you're feeling insecure with your language, fix that one. Sorry.
Okay.
And after that knowing that if you really want to work here, what type of visa do you really need to have to work full-time job? Because your type of visa will reduce the amount of hours as well that you can apply for a job. And that will reduce as well the amount of companies that they will allow you to work as a professional. So if you feel ready after your first 6 months of being here and you have 2 years of a student visa, how you're going to do that transition? So it's having all those kind of things in mind before you come here.
Was there a certain visa that you had to apply for when you came to Australia?
So what happened is, depending on the country, the type of visa that you can apply. For example, if I'm not wrong, Brazil and Chile, they can apply for work visa. So they can come and work full-time straight when they come to here. Back then, I think that as Colombia didn't have the opportunity that we apply for work visa. Right. So we have to apply for a student visa. And after that, seeing if you like it, like the country, and seeing how you transition that visa until the point that you can get a postgraduate visa or even a sponsor. Is so many people relying on the transition of the visas to get into, into the industry that you're looking to work. So it depending on the country as well.
Okay. And what was it like when you first came from Colombia and landed to Australia? Did you, I guess, what was that feeling like? But did you have measures in place where you sort of set yourself up, or was it just, you've came over and then you're figuring it all out?
So I think I'm everything in between. So nothing in between. Sorry, I need to explain to you my personality. So I am super logical or super emotional. I'm nothing in between. I'm full on. Am I doing that goal and I'm going to do it? Or you know what? Today I'm going to paint the whole day. I'm not going to do anything. Right. I need to connect myself. Yes. So that was the sensation of coming here. So first of all, I think that my sensation was the first month and a half was, I'm a tourist, because you normally go to have holidays and you're like, 2 weeks, nothing, 2-3 weeks. When you say I have 4 weeks of holidays, you rest. You don't do nothing. You don't wake up early. You're like, I'm going to walk. I'm going to see the city. And you start to get along of the new place. But after your second month and your savings goes down, you're like, okay, what do I have to do here to start to improve where I'm going? And that sensation change. So I think that it is depending on the moment that you are in that transition of being a professional and when to start that searching again. Because you're like, okay, I know that I came here to live here, but it's a new city. I need to be outside all of this. And after that, how can I start looking and being involved again in the industry? Okay. So you start to do a lot of different things. For example, I start to go to seminars, to events. I start to put myself outside, and I was really scared, because when people ask you, what do you do? What do you do is back home. Right. So you're like, how can I translate this to this person that doesn't know the size of the company that I was working for? And how can I translate the name? So what I was doing, I was like, I used to work in the name of the company that is similar to AGL here. So I have to learn how to translate who I was with who I am now, but I'm not working there. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's confusing in the first time. So first of all, it's everything about building that confidence about yourself. So it's like understanding that you are a professional, that doesn't matter where you're living. You, of course, you have to put a lot of effort of relearning and understanding different things, because you're, of course, in a totally different country. But you have to understand as well that process of like how to put yourself outside and look for something new and different in your career.
And when you came from Colombia to Australia, did you first study here or did you first work here? What was that like?
Yes, so I had to study. So when I went to different agencies
Yeah.
to see what was my best career path. I was to come to study.
Okay.
So I was okay. So let's do that. I decided to come to Australia to study, and I started studying with Cambridge. That is like trying to prove that my English is enough to work.
Right.
So I took the exam, and it's like valid for like 2-3 years. I don't know, but you feel proud because you prove it. And after that, okay, but I still having 4 months of visa. So what I'm going to do with this time, or you use it, because if you stop studying when the course finish, you can be deported. You don't have like you have a specific weeks that you can be without a study, so you have to continue studying.
Okay.
So yes, when you start to see, do I want to do a master's? Do I want to do a PhD? Do I want to do something else that guides me to get for example, postgraduate visa where I can work professionally and I can enter to the industry? So you're always thinking about that path. So what I had to do is fill it up that gap in the way that what is going to guide me better to be a professional in Australia.
Yeah.
So I say, all right, I used to be auditor in Colombia. So projects, you know what, go with project and program management.
Okay.
So I did the diploma and project management and all of that. Yeah.
Okay. And what was your very first job here in Australia?
So my very first job, barista.
Okay, very cool. Okay. And was that hard? Was that hard to, I guess?
It was really difficult.
Yeah. And was it hard to get as well?
Yes,
Right.
Because as I told you, I'm like full on or nothing. And I was like, okay, I knew that I am a person who has to be connected with the company that I'm working, or that I need to feel that I love what I'm doing. I love working as an environmental professional, and that moved me every day. So I knew that if I was working in something that I was not connected in the start, because I was conscious that I need the money, that I need, to start with something. So I was okay. Since Colombia, I said, I need to find how can I work in something else, and I decided to take a barista course back then. So before, like 6 months before I came to Australia.
Right.
So I studied that. And when I came here, it took me 4 months without any income finding a job. And it's like, I went to a coffee shop and I said, you know what? I work for free. Accept me.
Okay.
Literally.
Okay. Yeah, right. Okay. And is that how you sort of made headwaves? Because I think that's a big thing.
They didn't allow me to work for free, but because all the laws that we have like working like in Colombia, they will be, of course, come and work for free. Right. We will help you, but over here is like laws protect you, and you can, it's not ideal. Right. So because of that, I started to say, okay, you know what? Pay me the minimum. You can pay like the correct number, and I will happy to learn everything. If you need me in the kitchen, I will be in the kitchen. If you need me outside, and I did all that transition. And after 2 weeks working there, they allowed me to go to the coffee machine and prove them that I knew how to do, to make a coffee. And they started to say to me, okay, you need to speed up, because here it's really busy. And I was thinking, but it's not the same back home. What do you mean that it's busy? But you start to get into the point of understanding that the culture is different, that the amount of coffee that you drink here is different as well. And yes, that was the first job.
Okay. Yeah. And I guess for people that are coming from overseas and looking to try and just get any type of job to support themselves, do you think that a good way is just to sort of approach these type of companies and sort of speak to them and say, hey, look, I would love to sort of work for your organization, or what do you think would be the best method?
In the professional side?
No, I don't think we'll go into the professional side, but even just any type of, work line.
I think that, yes, I was really confused in the start how to do that. Right. It was a really difficult, not clear path. So I was a little bit blurry for me. How can I approach companies or approach coffee shops or even to look for any type of job, you know? So I think that is fundamental that you start to build your network. Doesn't matter whatever it is. Like you need to meet people. You need to put yourself outside and tell absolutely everyone that you're looking for a job. Doesn't matter what you're looking for. You say, I'm open to learn whatever you put in my plate. Because what happened is, of course, I arrived in the stage of like looking for that barista position where I was saying, you know, whatever you want to give me. You know, I'm happy to learn to be an assistant, to whatever you want me to do, in the way that if you put me in the situation of learning the culture, learning why you do things here, if going to help me more than just looking for a job. So I think that is more about networking.
Okay. Now you mentioned that when you came here that you also tried to, I guess, number one, network, but you're joining groups, trying to meet people. How did you go about doing that?
I'm really good with conversations when it is one-to-one. Right. I think that I'm really extrovert and introvert at the same time.
Right.
So for me, when I was part of the groups, I entered, for example, Latin engineers. So our community has a Latin surname for absolutely everything that you're looking for. So it's like Latin helping this and that, right. Latins in Melbourne, Colombians here, Colombia. So it is really easy to join to all those groups and where you feel safe as well, because it's like from your country, they're speaking your language, and you know that if you ask, they will reply. Yes. But it is those type of groups where I used to scroll down and read more instead of like going to there and putting myself outside. I think that it helps me more to be able to be outside in the street, you know, in working, and being barista helped me so much to break those walls, because I was building conversations all the time, Shankar. It was like, you know, hey, how are you? What is your name? How can I spell it? So I practice in my English. It's right. Like spelling and all those kind of things, but that you think that they are not important, but at the same time, they are really important.
Right.
When that customer stays there and you're like, you know what, I am an environmental engineer, and you start to build that trust in yourself, because you don't do it for the other people, you do it for you, because you need to believe who you are here in Australia. And that way you can imagine how many cards I receive just having those conversations. It's like, if you're looking for a job in the future, call me, or, you know, send a resume up to this link or things like that. Yeah, that helped me a lot.
Okay, so then that was a really vital role in terms of helping you build the communication and feel, I guess, that self-assurance of yourself.
Yes, it was a really vital role, because during the process, I get into being the manager and the supervisor of a few of the restaurants. Okay. Yes. So I was like working around the whole city. They have like a different restaurants around the city. So I was working in the morning, one night, like that, moving around, being the supervisor, and give me as well the security of like, I used to handle teams before and I know how to do it. And now they are allowing me to close the business, to make the numbers, to give the money to the staff, to the employees, right. Decide if we're renting the place, for how much money we're going to rent it. And it's building again all that trust of like, I can take these decisions of a restaurant, but I used to do it as well. It's still being important. Okay. It's still being a business. Yeah. So it was vital for me. Yeah.
Okay. So perfect. So now, you've come from Colombia to Australia, you started studying, you then got a job in hospitality. Then once you start to finish your studies, how do you then go about trying to, I guess, network or try and find that next opportunity, but within the professional realm?
All right. So my story is really, I think that, of course, as every single person, your story is unique. And I think that my story is unique, of course, because for me, every conversation has value. And I always make the person to feel valuable in the conversation. So in the first year when I came, I was working as barista in the Melbourne Exhibition Centre. It was a massive event. And I enjoy working there because, you know what? I was in the whole conferences for free. So
Oh,
I
right.
was really excited because I make the coffee during the event and I have to be quiet during this specific talk. So I was listening all the time.
Ah, right.
So I was present in those moments. But when the people came to me to ask for a coffee, a few of them, they were open to have conversations. So I was, and what are you doing here? It's like, what is this about? And what do you do? And what is your role? And all those kind of things. And one of these events was in one of the main industries. And this guy gave to me a card and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. But at the same time is when my back home tackled. So it's like, you don't have a coffee with someone that you don't know. You
Right.
shouldn't have, it's like, so it took me at least, Shankar, 6 to 8 months to write a message or an email to
Right.
that person
Right.
because I was feeling this is not correct for me. Like my values are my coffee because it's something that we grow in my farm.
Mm.
We drink it at home and it's ours. Yes.
Right.
So it's when you put that and you start to ask people, hey, is this normal to go and drink coffee with someone that you don't know? It's like,
Yes.
why he's asking me for a coffee? Yes. But it's like, they just want to have a meeting. Say, okay, it's better to have a meeting,
Right.
but you start to understand the culture and the difference between each other. And you say, okay, if this is normal, all right, so let's do it. And let's do it as well with my conditions. So I say, yes, have a chat, but in this public place.
Right.
Because it's the way that we can meet in the middle of both. And you start to get into the culture and all those kind of things. So I think that was the way that everything started. So I think that first of all, communication, like communicating to people and being aware the people outside has their life and they can be willing to help you.
Right.
Second of all, understanding why that person gave to you the information and what that person believes on you. And the third section, it will be keep going. It's like you have to keep those conversations going in the way that doesn't matter where you're looking for a job, if it's sick, online, LinkedIn, or in the street. I'm a people person. I do it more as a people like connections, but it's a lot of people that they doesn't like to do things like that. So I would recommend them to study a lot about the company and send emails to the company and being present as well in that way. If they don't like to call, I used to hate calling. So I was like, just emails and text,
Right.
but it's because all get together.
Yeah. You mentioned that you had to overcome certain cultural differences between Colombia and Australia, just like the gentleman asked, he gave you a card, let's go for coffee. Were there any other sort of cultural differences when you came to Australia that you're like, this is a little bit different?
Yes. Yes. They were and I really want to talk about them because I think that is really important to identify that of course we are putting ourselves in different situations and was our choice. Yes.
Yeah.
And no one said to me you have to go to Australia and work there because you have to. No, it was my choice to come here. So I think that is my responsibility as well to understand your culture.
Yeah.
So as if you're traveling to Colombia, I would love you to understand our culture in the way that we are and why we do things. So
yes.
I think that is like respecting those boundaries. So I think that one of the things that I found different as well was drinks at work. So it is like having drinks with your co-workers,
right,
or going to a Christmas party and seeing people drunk. I, of course, in the start, I was wondering, it's like, why? It's like, I don't understand, so I need someone to explain me why this happened like this.
Right.
And it took me a while to understand those behaviors. It's like, I love having my beers and I love having my wines and I love to have really good conversations over them. Yes, if you know that you have the knowledge and you go back and forward on all of that, I am 100% of those kind of things.
Right.
What I can't deal with is like when things get further than that, there's like drama and things like that. I always remove myself. I'm like, I put my a barrier in my mind and I just ignore it around me.
Right.
So I think that is the big one. Yeah.
Okay. And any other ones that sort of come to mind?
I love, for example, something about you here, that is you start to work at 9 a.m. I love that Australia start working at 9 a.m. in the morning. I used to work and start at 7 and finish at 7 p.m.
Right.
And the payment was like 3/4 of what we get here.
Right.
So it is like, for me, no, and I don't see it, because in the start, I have to be really honest, in the start, I see like, oh my God, the people is really lazy.
Right.
It's like
right.
2 hours without doing nothing. It's like, I used to study at 6 a.m. in the morning, having exams my whole career at 6 a.m. in the morning until Saturdays. And over here is like 2-3 hours of studies. And I'm like, why is this so different? In the start, of course, I judged in the way it's like, oh, this and that.
Right.
But after now, I put a lot of value on these kind of things, because if I have to work at 9 a.m. in the morning, I can wake up at 7, I can have my breakfast, I can read the news, I can go for a walk. You start your day in your mindset, in your zone, and after that, you do that transition to that 9 a.m. that is your work and your professional side, and you're still having time after 5 p.m. to have your rest of your life. And I think that is something that I cannot see in any other place of the world, and has to be respected.
Interesting. Okay. So huge work-life balance here in Australia. Yes. Interesting.
I love that. Yeah.
I guess when you reflect now upon your time here in Australia, what do you think that were your major struggles or your major hurdles just to date? It doesn't have to be professionally, but it could be personally. What do you think that you wish that you knew earlier?
That is a really, really, really good question. I think that the struggle will be around English all the time.
Right.
I think that when you come from another country that speak another language, you are always thinking in perfection. And something in the way that is like, I really want to make sure that they are understanding what I'm saying in the way that I'm saying.
Right.
It is like, I don't need to write lines. It's like, this is correct, this is incorrect, or this is what I'm trying to say to you. No, it's like, I want to be able of like, if I'm saying it to you once, that you understand it once. So I think that is about that, but it's because I'm a little bit perfectionist. So maybe that one. And something that I would like to know before, I think that it's really funny, because I'm really grateful of being here. It's like, I'm really grateful that I went this morning for a run and I found like 100 kangaroos jumping around me. and I'm like, these are the only animals around the world. So I always take photo of them. Doesn't matter if it's been 4 years here. I love them. So I think that instead of like saying, I would like to know something before or whatever, I think that the challenge here, and I don't know if it's just for migrants or for absolutely everyone, is to build your confidence and to understand that you are who you are. And that you need to always be open and honest about who you are and following your values and what you believe, and that it will guide you as well to choose and to make better decisions in life.
Yeah, I think that, that's a huge one. I think a lot of migrants will struggle with the fact that they're not sure if they're conveying their message correctly. You mentioned that working as a barista helped quite a lot. Do you think that there were any other ways or any other recommendations that you would provide people that English is their second language, and where they can improve on, or how they can improve on?
Yeah, I think that, for example, for those ones who are working in hospitality, or even for those ones who are working in a professional environment, but not in the environment that they want to work in, I would recommend them to approach the people that they are already in the step that they want to be.
Right.
Listen to the people that they already work the path. And it's like, go to even ask the people around you. It's like, hey, do you know a lawyer and that they do this and this and that? No, I don't have idea. Okay, so go through LinkedIn.
Right.
And go and find someone and open the conversation. Hey, I just want to have a chat. And it doesn't put you in the way that you're looking for a job. Maybe you're not ready. Maybe you just need to build those conversations and start to have those guidance that you can say, you know, I came to Australia, or I am from this, blah, blah, blah. My story is this one. Do you have your story? Share your story with me. What did you do? What do you think that I can do better to arrive to that point that I want to be on? And that is unconsciously is as well a mentor. Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes when we look for mentors, we go to these massive places that they offer to these mentorship programs. That is amazing as well, because over there you can find as well that I think that a mentor can be a really good man. You always learn. You learn what do you want to do. You learn what you don't want to do. And even you learn how do you see yourself through their eyes. So you're like, you know, having that conversation with a mentor and say, I don't want to be in his position because he doesn't have time for his life. And that is fine, because maybe you're putting first time and life balance instead of maybe having the highest position or even the most, you know, responsibilities. And it's fine. Another person will say, you know, I really wish to be in your position. Explain to me, what do I have to be like you? Yeah, so no mentoring program, or even finding unconsciously a mentor.
Yeah, okay. And how would you, how would you describe the working culture here in Australia back home to Colombia? Now, you've mentioned, obviously, you work longer hours back in Colombia, but what about, were there any other differences here in the working culture?
So I'm going to do like 2 parallels. I think that it will be a little bit clear to understand my mindset back home, and after when I move here and do that transition.
Okay.
So back home, I used to work in this renewable energies company, and I had to travel every week to the project. And I have to take a flight every Tuesday at 5 a.m. in the morning and be in the project at 9, because we start at 8 to work. Yes.
Right.
But for me, it was amazing because I love it. You know, I was like, you know, I'm going to the project. I'm going to be with the whole team. We're going to do all these changes. We're going to have this impact in the world. We're going to save this amount of animals, you know, all those kind of things that make me feel I'm putting my piece to be a better world.
Yeah.
So the culture was different because we spent so much time together.
Right.
And we see, you know, we were in the plane. We were talking in the plane. We were talking in the cars, going to the project from the city to the project was 1.5 hours in the cars.
Right.
And we were just sleeping in the car, like we don't mind, you know, what are all those kind of things.
Right.
that you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I'm looking fine. I just arrived to work, because you were in your process of going there. And we stay it was like we said it like a campament.
Yes. Okay.
And we stay there for 4 days, like Tuesday to Thursday or Friday, like depending on what we have to do, and we return. So my life in my city was shorter than the time that I spent with my coworkers. Right. So the relationships start to be really close, friendships, and you start to be more like the conversations are not based in work. Yes. And I think that maybe it's Latin, but we are really warm and we want to know about you and what do you do and your hobbies. And it's like, I want to learn your hobby. What about we do it together? But when I moved to here and I start to see the culture is totally different. You enter at 9 and you go to 5. Mm-hmm. That's it. Mm-hmm. And after that, some drinks, for example, people doesn't know what is the limit to ask. Or even it's like the communication that I found that difficult was like, is this correct to ask? Right. Like, is this, you know, if I ask about his family, about her family, it's too much. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Because you are finding that all the time it's about work. And it's about work and business and economy. And that you start to feel disconnected with the human side. Mm-hmm. So you're like, okay, so how can I build trust in my workplace if I don't know who I'm working with, if I'm just listening about his professional side? So that, I think that has been a challenge.
Okay.
I think that maybe in hospitality is a little bit easier because in a quiet place moment or whatever, you invite your friends to have a coffee in your coffee shop, or even a friend comes to have a coffee and you're like, hi, hello, how are you? You know,
Right.
You are mixing those environments pretty easy. You cannot invite your friend to go and sit down in the office with you. So
right.
I think that has been the difference, like the interconnection between like being human.
Okay. And say, what advice would you give to someone that is also coming in your shoes and about to embark on their first day or even their first week of professional work? Are there any things that you wish that you knew beforehand, or yeah?
Be you.
Yeah, that's
just
good.
be you.
Yeah.
Do not change who you are because the environment is different. And make everything that you can to prove that you can be yourself all the time. If you're feeling that you know start changing with time, maybe you have to reevaluate what is happening there.
Yeah.
And if you go and you start to reevaluate and you start to feel, you know, maybe it's me, maybe it's the way that I communicate things, because of course the first thing that comes to my mind when those kind of things happen is communication, you know, is me. Maybe I'm not saying the things correctly. I am not using the perfect words, or maybe I'm not clear enough, or maybe I'm not as strong enough when I want to say no and put boundaries. Or maybe this is not correct, or it was correct and I thought that it wasn't, you know. Right. So knowing and communicating to your co-workers, or even the owners or the boss or the head of whatever it is fundamental. But when you understand that you are always who you are and you're all true and clear to your heart, I think that decisions with time will make clear. So when you start to feel and you start to mix those emotions and you're like, you know, maybe I'm not clear enough, and you do everything to be clear, and you're still seeing those things, maybe communication wasn't the reason.
Right.
And maybe you were not honest with yourself when you said that, because you thought that it was correct to say it in a different way. And you're like, okay, so what do I have to do here, and what is better? And when you start to listen to what is happening, and you know that is something as well that you used to do that makes you really happy all the time, why that is not happening here? Right. So it's all those kind of things where you have to understand, and it works for absolutely everything. It's job and relationships and absolutely everything. Absolutely everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Be honest. Yeah.
No, I think that's very true. You have to make sure that everything aligns with your morals and you're honest with yourself. So I think that's a very, very good point. Were there any certain rejections that you would constantly hear when you were trying to apply for a job or go for a job?
Yes, it's always not always, because I didn't apply for thousands of jobs. So that is something that that is me. So I don't like to apply for 150 jobs in 1 week and wait someone to call. I take all the applications really, really serious. So I really go through the website and understand who they are. Do they really want to work here? I even watch the organization videos and what the people say about them. I go to their reviews, because I think that is really important that you understand what is the company. So when they call me, it was normally a conversation that I want to have. So they say, you apply for this role position. Of course I know, because I research. I'm not getting confused of how many applications I'm sending.
Right.
So yes, of course, I know who you are. What is your name? And I'm writing down, and it's like, okay, who you are, what do you do, and having a conversation, because they're not just interviewing me. I want to know who they are. If they are happy in their job, because if it means that you are not happy in the company, why I'm going to put myself in that situation?
So true.
Yes. So the first rejection that I got in Australia was because what I said, like what happened, was I was like, we have like, I think that we had like two people, like me and another person.
Right.
And they said, you were a really good candidate, like very, very good one. It was so difficult, but we find someone else with more experience.
Okay.
And I'm like, fair enough, you know, but it is, I think that it has been pretty common to get, not because of me, with, of course, I continue talking with a lot of friends that they still been looking for a jobs and things like that, that I've been listening to this answer more often.
Okay.
That is what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. And was there, when you're going through the job hunting process, so you obviously got rejections, but what about when you were going for interviews? Was there any differences between Colombia and Australia? Or is it very much the same?
I think that is pretty similar in big organizations.
Yeah.
So if you're going to enter to a big organization, normally they ask you for a test, and those tests are related to your ethics, your value, your emotions, and all those kind of things. I think that in Colombia, we're more emotional. So
Right.
they are really emotional intelligence. So for example, they put you to color even. It's like, put color these squares as you want it, and these are the colors that you want, and you color it. And after that, I say, okay, so put which is your favorite color, and you have to put in next to it the favorite color, what that color means to you, and you have to explain all those kind of things. And it's a really deep study about how do you see life. So, you know, if your favorite color is black, why do you prefer the black? Oh, you know, I like how I look in the black. Or it's like because black is darkness. You know, it depends on what you believe in the color. So that is more our hires, or the one that I had back home, they were related to the people, to the person.
Right.
And after knowing the person, because they know your skills, because for us was really mandatory to have our degrees, and you're certified, and you have to prove where did you study, the type of university, what is the level, like which is the highest number of your career, like all those kind of things. So the first filter is the number of the final grade that you have in the whole career.
Right.
So that is the first filter. It's like, if you don't have this number, you cannot apply for this role position. So you have to be really good in your profession, and after that you have to be an excellent professional, and you have to be an excellent person as well, to be part of this company. And doesn't mean that you are a bad person if you don't enter. It just means that the culture is different inside of the company, and they want the same people, and that is fine as well. I found it great, and I think that has been the biggest difference between Australia and Colombia, because the process here, I think that is more about networking, understanding where you're going, understanding the company. And it has like a call, a meeting. And after that, you have to go through the process of understanding. I will see what is happening later, you know, because I don't know if they liked her or not, what the conversation that we had about my professional skills. And the last call is about if you achieve it or not. But you don't get that transition of like, this is what happened. This is the reason why. This was the question that make us to wonder, maybe we need someone more expert, or maybe with these different qualities, we're looking people like this. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that is the difference.
And finally, what would be your advice for people that are coming over to Australia, and just in terms of tools or groups, or just where they can sort of just pick themselves up straight away and hit the ground running, whether it be professionally, whether it be sort of personal, building that personal network? How would you sort of describe that?
Like advice. First of all, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is absolutely everything in Australia as a professional. And I think that it is social media, professional social media, that you need to understand how it works. So in the way that it's like, you are looking for a job, or you are looking to have conversations, or even if you may, because something that I've been finding is a lot of people that they want to be entrepreneurs, and they want to have their own businesses. And it's as well a really good platform to go and talk with business owners and say, hey, do you mind to give me your advice to do this and that? And stop thinking that we have to do the things in just one way. It's so many different ways of doing things. For me, it works a lot to have conversations in the coffee place. And for another person can be a really difficult one. So my first advice will be understand your way of communication, where you're really good at, and work in the ones that you're weak. So if you know that you're really good working and having open conversations with the people in the street, start working as well on LinkedIn. Go and knock the internal doors and say, this is what I'm looking for. Because if the first one is not working, you need to understand that you need to go to do the second one.
Yeah.
I think that groups and things like that, everything on LinkedIn. I will not recommend to go to social medias like Instagram or Facebook or something like that.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something professional. But if you want to build your relationships and networking, Meetup is a really good app to go and they have different topics about what you want to learn. Even if you want to have a new hobby or whatever, it will help you as well in all these times of craziness to find different solutions. They were doing activities on Zoom as well, so I think that it helps you as well to put yourself in different situations. And the last recommendation will be build a community where that you trust. So and the community can be your own friends, or can be even knowing people in another groups, or even having the opportunity of being invited to another group or ask for it. For example, if you listen to someone, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and say, hey, I don't know what is that, do you mind to guide me and see what it looks like? Because that is a way that you have to, how do you know that you like the chocolate or vanilla? You have to try them. So I think that will be my recommendations.
Okay. And before we wrap it up, anything else that you would like to share?
I think that as you know now, and everyone knows now, I'm super emotional and logical at the same time, but find some, I heard this about a few weeks ago, find what you love and do it more often. So sometimes we get in this loop of doing things correctly for a perfect life in the future. And I think that all this time has been teaching us that the time is now. It's not even later. And if you really want to do something or whatever, what you need is to think about that. And to think about that, you have to do things that you like, that you enjoy, that makes you feel, okay, this is difficult, but today I did this better. And even I start painting, I don't know to paint. And one of the things that I said was, you know what, the best part of painting is that I don't know how to do it. So I don't have that stress of making it perfect. I'm just putting colors everywhere and maybe it looks terrible. I don't care. It's just putting everything aside, because when I'm painting in this moment of my life, I'm feeling that I'm like meditating, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to do this. And I'm thinking, so find that makes you feel reconnected to yourself and do it more often.
Now, for everyone that is watching, Laura is an extremely professional and an exceptional environmental professional. She's looking to follow her passion in sustainability and climate change. So if you are interested or you are looking, make sure to reach out to her, because she would love that. Thank you, Laura.
No, it's all my pleasure. I really appreciate that you invite me to be here. I found this space is really important for people and for us as well to recognize who we are and where we want to go.
No, you have an amazing story. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shankar.
Thank you.